Hello, everybody out there in Paranormal Brew land and Brad Klinge and Ghost Lab and Everyday Paranormal land. And the list goes on and on and on. Thank you, Brad, so much for being here with me. I know you are a very busy man, you and your bro. So
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Thanks for asking. I know that we had talked about this months ago.
yes,
So honestly, I have it on my calendar, but it's like when I saw the post, I was like, oh yeah, that's tonight. Okay, so
yes, I know. I was a little nervous because I was like, I haven't heard from him. I'm like, should I tell people? Because there was like a lot of people that said they were going and stuff, and
yeah, I
I'm
meant
like,
to respond back to you earlier today, but again, I got busy. I'm so sorry, but I
you're here. That's all
wasn't
that
gonna
matters.
miss it. So yeah,
Yeah. So my favorite thing, you love your favorite thing is my favorite thing. And when I was just an enthusiast and getting into this, all I had was ghost hunters. And no other show really interested me back then. It was just all ghost hunters. And then I heard of this new show coming out, Ghost Lab. And it was a different at that time for me anyway, that was a different concept, a different way of investigating, but yet it still, seemed to be the respectful investigators, level-headed people. You debunk stuff. Not everything was paranormal. You know what I mean? Like you guys still kind of kept it real, but just investigated in a different way, and it was awesome.
right. And back then, even me, ghost hunters, you love them or hate them. You got to give them props. They were like the first TV show that were out there probably since about, I don't know, 2004, 2005, in that time frame. And
Yeah.
they kind of brought that style of paranormal investigation to TV, and we're kind of the pioneers of that. And what's funny, when I look back on it, we were just in 2009. So when back in the day, it was them, it was us, it was
Yeah.
Paranormal State on A&E,
Yes.
and it was Ghost
Yep.
Adventures.
Yeah.
And that we were basically the four paranormal shows on four different of the major cable networks at the time. And then, fast forward today, they're you've seen all kinds of shows and all kinds of people and all kinds of styles and all that good stuff. But my brother and I, we still do this. We haven't been on television or filming Ghost Lab, for a good 13 years now. It's been off the air for 13 years.
That's so crazy to
And,
me
I mean,
because
I say off the air, we stopped filming. It's still on the air.
right.
Amazingly, it's like it's on Discovery Plus and it's streaming everywhere. I'll probably be like 80 years old and still see Ghost Lab reruns coming
I
around.
hope so. I
Yeah,
I
I
love
mean,
it.
I can tell because it's like I have dark hair on the show, and then now I'm all gray and everything. So, that's what ghost hunting does to you, I guess.
Yeah. No, but I'm still a huge fan. I was a fan back then. Everything you guys do, I love it. And thank you for still doing it because, you know, I wish more people, you guys have a lot of followers, a lot of fans. I'm not saying that. But I feel like a lot of it, a lot of things have gotten lost with this whole YouTube craze, with all these like, people like doing all this crazy stuff and fake. I feel like the OGs and the good stuff is getting, even myself as a podcast, because when COVID hit, everybody started doing podcasts. I've
Right.
been doing it since 2017,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
I'm not
It was
even
funny.
old.
Barry and I had a podcast in like 2007. We had a
Yeah,
podcast. It was called The Cold Spot. And
yeah,
we did a few episodes, but it's funny how these things, evolve over time.
yeah. Yeah, and so the first so I sit down with a bowl of popcorn. I'm like, yes, because I watched Ghost Hunters and I watched Ghost Lab. Those were the two shows I watched. And so I DVR'd and everything, you know what I mean, like recorded and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And you captured a home video. And what resonated with me with you guys was that you said that that was when you went on a family trip to Gettysburg. That was your first experience, and you loved Gettysburg. You guys love Gettysburg. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're like my soul brother mates, and they don't even know it." We're like, and the video is amazing. I'm going to share it. At least I'm going to attempt to try to do this. Share screen and share this video that I say it shares a number one spot with just one other video, and that's it. It was
Yeah, and
beautiful.
this, and keep in mind, this was filmed in 1990.
Right,
I was 17 years old, and it was on a VHS camcorder, and I wasn't, there was no such thing as a ghost hunter back then, really, and
right,
we weren't looking for anything like that. It just happened, and
right.
that's kind of the beauty of it.
And it's the coolest video. And you know what else I love about it? I mean, you have talked about it. I share it every once in a while just to throw it out there on Paranormal Brews page or on my page. Because I'm like, look at this video. Like, this is amazing. It's a digital recording of a natural recording.
Yeah, and there's another story about that. I'll let you play it first, and then there's probably a dozen stories I want to tell about that video and what we found out years later, and all that kind of good stuff. But if you have it, you can go ahead and play it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, let me see if I can do this right. Everybody, bear with me, please. All right, so I have to go here. All right. Oh, I gotta share screen.
You even have a little round top as your background, I see.
20 years ago, on a trip to
Yep.
the historic battlefield, Brad Klinge made a surprising discovery that propelled his interest in paranormal.
July 6, 1990. I was on family vacation in Gettysburg. It was broad daylight, and we're driving out of town. I look over in this field, and I notice this group of Union soldiers just wandering through the field. I think they're doing a reenactment. So I tell my dad, hey, pull over. I want to get this on videotape. He does. I jump out, run about halfway across this field, stop, and I pan across. They're in frame for just a few seconds, and I stop it because I want to get a little bit closer. As soon as I look up to start running again, they're gone. And I mean, nowhere to be found. They would have had to move about 300 yards in a second to be out of my sight. There was no possible way. It was at that very moment that I knew that the paranormal existed. And I've been wanting answers ever since.
I'm actually sleeping in the bed where the stepmother was hacked to death with an axe.
Yeah, it's already started.
All right, so that
So
was amazing.
yeah, and it, like I said, it's when you're 17 and you're on it, and I was a history buff, and I was at Gettysburg when I was like 3 years old. I don't remember it, so I wanted to go and check out all like the Revolutionary War sites, the Civil War sites along the way. And obviously, my dad's from Pittsburgh, hence why I'm from Texas and I'm wearing a Steeler hat. So went up there to visit family, and then we cruised across, going towards Philadelphia, and we stopped at Gettysburg. And like I said in the video, it's broad daylight
Yeah.
and middle of the day, and there's just this group of Union soldiers cruising through a field, and I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. Let me go out and film them, because I was filming everything that I could.
Yeah.
And the one thing it's funny how people will criticize, and I really haven't got a lot of criticism on that, surprisingly, but I really don't care, because it's
Yeah.
not for anyone to judge. It's my personal proof of the paranormal. In fact,
Right.
that video sat in my hands with it. No one saw it for 20 years except my brother Barry and my friend Steve Harris, who was on the show. Those two were the only people that had ever seen that video prior to us getting the show on Discovery, and them asking the question, how did you get started in the paranormal? And then of course we had to tell the whole story and show the video. And people say, well, why didn't you keep them in frame, and why didn't you do this, and why didn't you that? It's because I was a kid with the video camera.
Right.
And you think that these are real people, and I'm going to run and get closer, and then they're not there. And
Right.
so it was at that moment where I was like, okay, it's broad daylight. I saw it with my eyes. I saw it with the camera, because when I look back at the camera, it taped it. So whatever that was, that's really not there, was in a form enough for this magnetic media to be able to record it.
Right.
So why? It had to have some sort of physical scientific properties, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the whole science thing came in, where I started
Yeah.
to research scientific theory and string theory and just law of conservation of energy and just all these different kinds of things that would help support what I now knew was real. And that videotape, I'm lucky to actually have that, because as you know, and I don't know who's listening to your show, but if it's a demographic that knows about VHS tapes, over time they start to stick and get brittle and just peter out.
Right.
And so I was looking, because I got through the tapes and I was looking at it. This is well prior to the show, and I was watching on VCR and I heard that crinkling sound, that.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the video started. I stopped it real quick, and I went and I grabbed a digital camera, and then those were new at the time, a digital video camera.
Right.
And I pressed play and I filmed. So what you see is me filming the TV screen of the VHS tape.
Okay.
And and as soon as it got done, and I stopped it, the tape snapped in half and it crinkled up and it was destroyed.
Oh.
So that tape.
Glad you got that.
Yeah, so that tape no longer exists. Had I not to do that real quick, I would have never had that, for anything. And now going back to, you gotta excuse me, I will ramble and ramble and ramble and ramble.
Please ramble.
So we got that, 20 years research, blah, blah, blah. Finally, Discovery, we're at the meeting, and they want to have this show, and they ask the question, and we tell them, well, we didn't get to actually go to Gettysburg until season 2. So we filmed an entire season 1. They talked a little bit about it on the first episode, but we really wanted to go to Gettysburg and do Gettysburg investigation. Well, it's really tough to do investigations on the battlefields in Gettysburg. In fact, it's impossible. Those park rangers and the laws in the national park, it's like you can't film, you can't do anything between certain times. You have to have basically an act of Congress to do anything. And so that led us to believe, we're like, no, wait a second. If that's the case, why were there people in 1990 wandering out the park? Because apparently this has been rules for forever up there.
I didn't even know that. I get out, I go hunt, I go everywhere.
Well, but people really don't know it. I mean, you're carrying a video camera, you're carrying a recorder. You don't have, 20 people on a production crew.
That's
and all that
true.
kind of
Oh,
stuff.
you're saying like in that aspect.
Yeah, in that aspect.
Oh, okay.
And we've been out there since doing it too, but just kind of,
Gotcha.
nonchalantly. But we were at Phenomenology. That was the paranormal conference that was up there back then.
You don't remember me, but I remember meeting you.
I know you now, so it's like, yeah.
I know, but I have a picture of you standing in between you and your brother, and I just like this little thing, and I was there by myself. You guys were so cool. You guys were so cool. I showed you because I caught an apparition of a Confederate soldier on the railroad cut, and I showed you guys my picture. You guys were like, "Oh, that's so cool." Then I made you sign my picture, and I had it hanging on my wall. I'm a fangirl. So cool. I remember meeting you guys there, and you guys were so awesome. But
so when we were there, it was between season 1 and season 2, and we knew that in season 2, we knew we had got the show for season 2, but they knew that we were going to go to Gettysburg. So they wanted me to figure out where it was that video was taken. Shoot, I didn't know. I was 17. I had really not been to Gettysburg since then, since we were at Phenomenology. I've been there like a dozen times since then. But so what we did is my brother and I looked at the videotape over and over, and we noticed that there's one spot in the video where there's a monument in the background. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now that monument, this is before we knew that the battlefield is as well as we do today.
Right.
So we went out in Gettysburg. We drove around everywhere. We were looking for that monument, and we found it. It's the Virginia Monument. It's General Lee's.
I knew it. Remember, I emailed. I said, "Is that Lee's monument?"
Yeah, it's right in the middle of where the Pickett's Charge.
Yes.
And actually, where that field is,
yeah,
that was the Confederate line from Confederate Avenue. Confederate Avenue is actually the road that runs at the back of that video.
Right.
And so the lines were coming towards me, like where I was filming,
Yeah.
and the Union were firing from behind me to the other side. So that was the vantage point of where we're at. It was right there about 500-600 yards in front of the Virginia Monument
Yep.
on Pickett's charge. Now, here's the odd thing. Those
Mhm.
are clearly Union soldiers.
Yes.
You could see the American flag. You could see like a Union or regiment flag, but we're still trying to make out maybe what that is. The video is still a little bit too blurry. We've taken it to experts to kind of try to clean it up and look. And no matter what we do, no matter how clear the flag and the drums and that kind of stuff are, the people are just like shadow light.
So, yeah.
Like, so it's odd that you can have clarity like that on the, like material, like a
Right.
flag would be, or drums, but yet the same material on people. If those are real people, you would get the same clarity. You know what I
Right.
mean? But
Absolutely.
you don't. It's like a shadow consistency. It's very
Yes.
weird.
Yes.
But the other weird thing that we found out of phenomenology, when we finally found it, and we talked, there was a park ranger or someone who worked for the Park Service who was there. They told us a story. They said that I know that video is real because nobody is allowed to do reenactments on the actual battlefields themselves. I mean, they will get fined, arrested, like all kinds of stuff.
Right.
When they do reenactments, they actually do them kind of outside of the main like battlefields in the town. They do them on the outskirts, which all that land around there was a battlefield at some point in time. But the actual national park, Pickett's Charge, where that was filmed, there would have not been someone out there because they're not allowed. And there's just like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them just wandering through the field. Considering that is the Confederate side and it's Union soldiers and they're walking away, could this be something residual from after the battle? You know what I mean? Like they're walking home, they're whatever the case may be, because it didn't look like they were marching. It looked like they were just kind of just casually cruising through. We don't know. These are all.
No, I can tell you, I literally have watched that video a million times. I've slowed it down, frame by framed it, and I got all that same stuff. Like I was like, okay, that looks like Lee's monument. I said that looks like it's a Union line, but they're coming back towards the angle. You know what I mean? Not going. So they're coming towards.
They're actually kind of going parallel, almost away from the angle. Like so, the angle's here, and they're just kind of cruising this way.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, so if you drew a 45-degree angle from where they are to the right of that video, that's where the angle would be.
Yeah, that video is amazing because you hear of people having the accounts like that. I mean, people have said that they've they've seen surgeries being performed and medical stuff being performed and everything like that. I don't know if you ever heard of Mark Nesbitt's story where he got called over to, I want to say the Daniel Lady Farm. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. But there was a barn, and the barn had fresh blood in it. But the owner was like, it just appeared. It wasn't here. So Mark took a swipe of it, put it in a bag, put it in his pocket, and they kind of, went about the business. And then he said it was like 2 hours later, he called him. It was gone. Now, blood stains just don't disappear.
Right.
They don't go anywhere. Mark said they investigated there a couple of times. He sent the sample out and forgot about it. It takes forever, right, for stuff like that to come back. But he said he just forgot about it or whatever. But months later, it comes back, and it came back as human blood.
So it didn't disappear on the rag that he swabbed it with?
No.
Okay. But it disappeared in the bucket where
on the floor. It was on the wood on the
floor. Okay.
Of a 1830s barn wood.
Yeah, I think I have heard that story. Actually, I didn't know it was him, but I think I have heard that story before.
But you think about all this stuff that people experience in Gettysburg.
Well, it's just, so when we theorize about it, we have, and when we did the show, we did the experiment with what we call error cues, because error cue, and we didn't invent error cues. I mean, it's reenactments, but what we did is we defined error cues.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the one thing that in my world was new. And
Yeah.
after watching you guys do that, I started to incorporate that into my investigating, like playing Civil War music when I was in Gettysburg, or like dressing up like in period dress and stuff, like
Yeah.
just,
And there's only certain places that we feel is effective. And it's places that, time is a continuum, and we're all frequencies, and everything that happens in the world is a frequency. Me talking on this microphone is a frequency. Me going to the grocery store is a frequency. Everything. When something in a very small area happens, like a explosion, in other words, high human trauma, high emotion, high energy, that happened July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863, on this little spot. The emotions went from quiet farm village where nobody knew about to massive, the worst death and chaos that the world has ever seen, and then goes away again.
yeah.
So that kind of energy on an environment leads that there's a certain frequency that happened. Like, so if you're looking at a rope that's waving like this, and this is time, and this is 1863, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and this is time. If I could do something in the same environment to try to match this frequency, I might be able to see into another time. And at that time might be able to see into me. So basically you cross the boundaries of what would be considered like a parallel universe.
Right.
And so in order to do that, if you do a recreation as close or as you can in the very spots, you are likely to get these responses. Now, what was I doing the day that we got the video in 1990? Nothing. I was driving out of town, and so you can't say it always happens, but I know in Gettysburg, as many times we're there, stuff happens and you don't even do anything. It just happens so much.
Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, I say, if you've never been to Gettysburg, go one time, go at least once in your life, and just go out to the battlefield and just experience it. Just sit there and soak it in. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
You don't have to get fancy with your ghost hunting. You don't have to do anything like that. You just go out and experience it, and it will happen when your guard is down. Another thing they told us at Phenomenology, that the Spark Ranger, they said that there was only one time when they knew that reenactments were allowed on the battlefield, and that was the actual filming of the movie Gettysburg, with Martin Sheen, the big movie.
Yeah.
And they let them film on the actual spots. True story. July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863, very, very hot day, hot and muggy day, right? Days. When they were filming Pickett's Charge, that scene, a thunderstorm rolled up. And so they historically, accuracy, you have to stop filming. You have to wait for the thunderstorm to go through, because that's not historically accurate. As they were clearing the field, and this was reported on all different parts of the field, when the lightning would flash, there was actors and producers and extras and whoever would report that they saw the battle going on around them, the real battle. They would see images of the real battle when the lightning would flash. Now, that was at the same area that we caught this image. So you have to think, there's energy involved. There's the lightning, electricity. If it sparks it, there's something happening. It's triggering it. So when we filmed our episode up there, we did everything that we could to do reenactments, and got people in period dress, and had bullet. We were in Jenny Wade house, and we had bullet sounds and battle sounds, and we were running around the house, and we actually got someone crying between us. It sounded like a girl crying. So there's something to it, especially in Gettysburg, since that trauma was so high on those 3 days. We really think that air cues is a big way to get something out there.
Yeah.
And I have some stories recently of stuff that have gotten out there.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely want to hear about those. I do want to say this. I'm going to try to explain it as easily and not ADHD as possible. So like, when you think about, so Chamberlain and Abraham Lincoln, both in Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and then Chamberlain had said something kind of to the effects in both of their speeches about about the consecration of the land, and it being hallowed ground, and the spirits linger, physical forms move on, and I mean, when you go back to, the Egyptians and even the Native American Indians, I mean, they believe, and we believe, some people do believe in their, offerings to the land, and putting these curses on lands, or doing the stuff just by saying stuff, you know what I mean? And doing so, who's to say that what they said in their speeches and stuff like that didn't set the mold for it? Plus, there's so many burials still there. I mean, there's so many burials still there. And the people that have the passion for it, we keep it there. Like, I feel like we add something to the the spiritual aspect of it, or whatever phenomena is going on in Gettysburg, whatever it is that people experience. You know, I do believe that they're there because they love being honored. I don't, there's people that go there and I feel sorry for them, but they say, "Oh, I can't be there. All I do is feel sadness and this and that." And I'm like, it was so much more than just that. Like, I pick up on the stuff in between, when they're sitting by the fire and they're, you're feeling that, that heroic, drive to go on inside of them. You know what I mean? And just talking and smoking and drinking and, whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories there where it's like, nighttime came, encampments, and they'd cross each other. They were so exhausted. They were just like, screw it. We're going to sit down. We're going to eat together. They're just sitting 2 feet away. And it's like, hey, who are you? Where are you from? And blah, blah, blah. And then they'd go off, and, it's really, they had to be there based on what they felt individually, both the Union and the Confederate side. But, at the end of the day, nobody really wants to. No one really wants to do that, especially when you're fighting your own countrymen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was just a horrible, horrible time. And there's a point during battles where it's like, you're battle ridden. It's like I have to have a break. You know, I don't care who's sitting next to me. I will, gladly share this water or share this meal with them if it gives us both a break.
Oh yeah.
And there's all kinds of stories like that in Gettysburg. So yeah, very contradicting, 3 days that happened.
And it was,
the entire Civil War, in fact, but especially Gettysburg.
And it was so emotionally driven too. It was brother versus brother. I mean, look at Culp. Culp leaves Gettysburg to go fight with Virginia, winds up coming back to Gettysburg, and supposedly dying on his family's farm. And there's all kinds of stories mixed in with Gettysburg as well,
Well, yeah, and then it's funny you should say that, because like I said, we've been back several times to just do different things, different events. We've done battlefield tours where we lead the tours. But recently, about a year and a half ago, my brother and his son and I went up there, and we were doing an event at the Hoover House with
him and Steve, yeah,
that was they don't. I can't remember the name of the town, but it's between Antietam and Gettysburg. So we were there, and we're like, hey, if his son had never seen Gettysburg before, so if we're this close, we got to go to Gettysburg and just show him around.
Oh yeah,
so we went up there, and first of all, we went to Antietam because we've never been there before, and we took our recorders and we went out in the battlefields and the different places and the cornfield and all this different, and we recorded just rushing through. And then we went to Gettysburg the same day. So it was getting towards evening, and so we were up on the Devil's Den. You can crawl up on the rocks, and there's like those crevices and stuff like that. Well, my brother had an H4 Zoom recorder, and he stuck it down. He kind of got on his hands and knees and stuck it down in the hole in the crevice as far as he could get it. There's no wind. It's like almost like a perfect sound studio in there.
Right.
And he just says, "Hey, are there any Confederate soldiers around here?" And you hear this voice. We didn't hear it until we got back to the hotel room. We heard a lot of things, but most particularly, we heard a voice go, "Run!"
Oh wow!
Just like that, and we're like, "Well, that's crazy." And it's like, someone tell us to run. Well, keep in mind, we didn't know this until we got back to the hotel and listened.
Right.
So from there, the sun's going down. We go out to the Virginia Monument. We park there, and we walk out into the field. I actually line up my camera, my cell phone, exactly where I was standing. You see, and then we did it side by side. And
That's
it
cool.
was a beautiful, like it was in October. The sun was going down. It was nice and cool. There wasn't a single person on the battlefield. It was that nice orange and red
That's
sky.
awesome. Yes.
And my brother goes, "Fire!" like as loud as he can, and just echoes. And he goes again. He goes, "Fire!" Because that was the largest cannon barrage,
Yeah.
almost in battle history. And so we didn't think anything of it. So we go back. It's dark now. We go back to the hotel room. In Antietam, we get drum beats. We hear bullets whizzing by. We hear all different kinds of things in the recording. But when we hear that run, and then we listen to when on Pickett's Charge, the second time Barry goes, "Fire!" a cannon like it's 100 feet away.
Nuh-uh. Oh, I have
yeah.
chills. I have chills.
Loud, clear.
Woo!
We also heard it was in the distance, and it sounded like a pack of coyotes. Kind of, just have you ever heard a pack of coyotes? They're just kind of, well,
Yes.
we didn't hear a pack of coyotes when we were out there, and we looked up wolves, and there hasn't been any like timber wolves or any gray wolves in that area for hundreds and hundreds of years. Well, we're looking for the sound, and my nephew, his son, comes across a website of these old Confederates that were at during the Civil War. It was back in the 20s or something like that. They were probably like 80 or 90 years old at the time, and they were doing the rebel yell, which is that crazy. It just,
That
and it
everybody's
matched it exactly.
That's
It
awesome.
matched it. This is what it sounded like. So we're thinking that not only we caught the rebel yell, we caught the cannon fire and someone saying "run." It gets better. So we have a researcher. We're doing some research, and they come back and they said, "Bradbury, do you realize that your great 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 grandfather fought on Devil's Den for the Confederacy? Direct grandfather, like great 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 grandfather. No uncles, second uncles. Our grandfather." And his brother.
That's
So our
awesome.
great 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 uncle fought for Georgia there at Devil's Den. Not only that, but everywhere we were in Antietam, they were there as well. So we did the entire we traced the entire footsteps of our great grandfather and his brother, and they went down to Virginia and all this other kind of stuff. And last summer, we actually went to Virginia and we went to all the battlefields that they were at.
So cool.
Trying to get voices, and we got some cool stuff. In fact, we are this June, so like 2 months from now, we have an event in Virginia at Gordonsville where we're going to go over the last 72 hours of the Civil War. In fact, my grandfather was killed 72 hours before Appomattox.
Wow.
So he lasted all the way through from the beginning, all the way through 3 days prior to Appomattox, and was shot in Sailor's Creek, and he died at a hospital in Farmsville, and he's buried in a mass grave in Farmsville. And just crazy stuff. So we're going to go back, and we're actually going to trace this again. We're going to tell everyone the story. Jason Hawes is going to be down there with us, and we've got these two big charter buses that we're going to take people to these battlefields, and we're going to tell the stories, and it's going to be a real cool weekend. But yeah, we have a personal tie to Gettysburg with our grandfather and his brother fighting there.
That is amazing. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
That's so awesome to find out. I was going to say, I think a lot of people like yourself and like myself, like I think the more passion you have for it, for like, I'm just gonna say we're talking about Gettysburg, so we have a lot of passion for Gettysburg, and I think that also helps to be able to connect with the spirits that are there, or the soldiers that are there, or whatever it is. I think that's why it's so it comes so easy, every time I go, I'm even when I'm not ghost hunting, if I'm just there on leisure, something happens.
Yep. So when we were filming Ghost Lab, we had a day off, and so there's a golf course that's near there. It's just right south of town somewhere, And when we were up on the tee boxes, you all of a sudden smelled this gunpowder, like this cloud of gunpowder came by or something, enough that kind of makes your eyes water. It was like if you had allergies, it really hurt. And then it went away. It was gone. It's just these phantom smells, these phantom sounds. This is actually kind of a funny story. This was just almost 1 year ago today. It was last April, in fact, so it is 1 year ago. Our friend Deborah, I don't know if you know Deborah Wilson. She was the actress on Mad TV. She does all the voice. So she was actually the voice of the nun in the movie The Nun.
Oh yeah,
her demon voice. She does all kinds of voiceovers and anyway, she's a really good friend of ours, and she it was her birthday, and she said it was her bucket list to go to Gettysburg. And we met her because she was a huge Ghost Lab fan.
Yeah.
And so we been in contact and done stuff over the years, and we said, Barry and I said, you know what, for your birthday, we're going to take you to Gettysburg. And she's like, oh yeah, cool. So we went up there and we stayed in Farnsworth and took her to all the spots, right? We took her to, the Devil's Den and the Angle, and we went everywhere. She so wanted to see a ghost so bad. I kept telling her, if you try to find the ghost, you're probably not going to see it. It happens when you're not paying attention. It happens, that's when the good stuff happens. She's like, oh, I know, but I'm so excited. I want to see a ghost. Well, she didn't see anything, whatever. So we get back to the hotel that night. And my brother and I, we have this routine where when we're done ghost hunting, we go back to the hotel. We go to the local gas station. We get honey buns. He gets chocolate milk, and I get a soda.
Awesome.
It's just something that we've always done. And so we ran. There was, there's a Sheetz that's up on the highway, and so we said, "Hey, Deborah, we're going to go to the Sheetz. Do you want to go?" She said, "No, that's cool." This is about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So we go, and then we come back, and then so I'm sitting there eating my honey bun. I'm driving. Barry's in the passenger seat, and we're coming down Baltimore Street, right after the circle, going towards the Farnsworth, right? You know exactly where I'm at now?
Yep, absolutely.
There's a stoplight, and on the right-hand side, there's a Methodist church. And so we're sitting there, and on one side, on the right side of the road, there's this college kid, probably from the college. He had earbuds on, and he had his cell phone, and he was jogging, but he was at the stoplight. He was waiting to go. On the left-hand side of the street, there was this dumpy-looking guy wearing a weird outfit, kind of had a weird-looking hat. He had a dark beard, and he started walking across the road. And Barry and I were just listening to music, waiting for the light to turn green, not thinking anything of it because this guy looks so real. He walks across. He's getting closer and closer to this kid standing on the corner, and the kid's not moving. So much so we're like, why is that kid not moving? Why is the guy who's walking not walking around it? And he got really, really close, and it almost looked like he just kind of went, like grazed him, and the kid didn't even move.
Oh, wow.
And the kid starts to cross the street, and when we look over, I kid you not, as we're looking at this guy, and there's a street light right there, and as he's walking out of the street light, he melts into the environment, and he's gone.
Wow.
And it's not one of those peripheral, like I thought I saw. We watched this guy all the way, and both of us had eyes on him as he disappeared. I've never really seen something disappear as you're staring at it.
Right.
And the only way I can describe it is like a blob, just kind of like a butter, just kind of melting instantly into the environment is what it looked like.
Yeah.
And Barry looks at me, he goes, "Did you see that?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that." We went back and told Deborah, "Guess what we saw?" She goes, "Screw y'all guys."
Oh, you guys, did you guys have anything happen at Farnsworth?
No, honestly, I did not. No, and now we stayed out. We were in the back part, there's the main house, and then you walk back past the look right across from where the gift shop is.
Yeah,
we stayed in. We were in one of those. So Barry and I did, and I don't think Deborah did either. But she was, she slept like a baby.
So, how often do you guys get to go to Gettysburg?
Well,
I know you live pretty far, so it's I know it's not just a jump in the car and let's go to Gettysburg, but
well, since we went to Phenomenology that one time, which is the first time that we had been back there since 1990. We've probably been 12, 13 times. We've probably been at least once a year since then.
Well, I open this up to all my friends. When I buy my house there, you guys are more than welcome to come and stay whenever you guys want, free of charge, whatever. Because I said I just want to move there. So I tell everybody, once I have a house there, everybody's more than welcome to come and hang out and do whatever. And, like, mi casa su casa.
You want to buy one of those old houses that are actually on the battlefield?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, I honestly would live anywhere in Gettysburg.
Well, there's a neighborhood. What's funny, like right as you pass Pickett's Charge, and there was like Pickett's Buffet and stuff right there.
Yeah.
Well, there's a neighborhood back there.
Yes.
And that's where when we filmed Ghost Lab, we went back into that neighborhood because they wanted to film the field, but we couldn't get on the field because of that whole thing with the Park Service. And what's funny is we were standing on the sidewalk, and I kind of shifted my weight and I put my foot on the grass. Here comes a park ranger with his lights blaring. Is like, you're gonna have to get off the property, off the grass, or you can stay on public. Basically, the sidewalk. I just had my foot on the grass, and the rest of me was on the sidewalk. They were that, I hate to say dickish about it, but I'll have to say serious about it.
Yeah.
But they didn't want us anywhere near that. They couldn't say anything because we were in the neighborhood.
Right.
But they could say something if we put our foot on the grass.
Oh my gosh. And like, if you knew somebody, because if you're on private property, you know what I mean? Like, they can't say anything, but.
Yeah, but it was like the neighborhood, and then the national park was like
right there. Yeah.
On the other side of the sidewalk. So
right. Yeah, I know that area back there. I drive back there all the time, and like I see houses for sale, and I look them up. I'm like, how much is it? Because I mean, the scenery right there is gorgeous.
Yeah,
and
right there,
a great place to do that at.
Yeah.
What is your favorite spot in Gettysburg?
I like Little Round Top when the sun's setting. You just go up there and you go out one of those rocks and you just kind of just chill out.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, because you see everything, you see the whole thing, and especially when it's like a cool day, it's like an autumn day. We've been there in the summer, we've been in the fall, we've never been in the winter, so I know it's probably pretty cold up there. But
it is cold.
It's that October time frame, man. The weather is perfect out there.
Beautiful. Even in the winter, I hate the cold and I hate winter. I hate snow. But if I'm there, I'm fine. Like, I don't care. It can snow, but
yeah, I guess snow would be odd because historically it was in the summer, so it's
right.
The fields and stuff. If you see it covered in snow, it'd probably be pretty cool to look at, but it's like doesn't take you back to exactly what it looked like.
It doesn't. It is a different feel, but it's around that time, it's like Christmas lights are up, so the houses are all pretty. You know what I mean? Like it's a different feel. You're there. It doesn't stop. You don't stop getting haunted.
No.
But it's just a different, But what was I going to say? Oh, you said something Little Round Top. Oh, I was going to tell you an EVP I got from there because I feel like if in another life I was Chamberlain's wife somewhere because I love Joshua Chamberlain. So I go to the 20th Maine a lot, and I'm back there and I was by myself. Nobody was there. And I wasn't thinking 20th Maine. I was just thinking like globally. So I said, I did a quick EVP session. I said, are you from Pennsylvania? And when I listen back, you hear a male voice go, no, Maine. I was like, did that just say what I think it said? So in my head, like, if I would have said, are you from Maine? And all you heard was, yeah. I mean, it's arguable. You know what I mean? Like hearing something like that, but to hear no, Maine. And I was right in front of the main monument. That's got to be one of my favorite CVPs.
Yeah, Gettysburg is one of those places where it's like, we have tons of audio. We have video, obviously.
Do you find you get more intelligent or more residual?
We probably get more residual out there, I would say. Mm-hmm. Simply because you can never tell. It just seems like whatever is triggered is doing something at the time, like the crying in Jenny Wade or the the soldiers cruising across the field or the cannon fire or something like that. It's more you're tapping into the moment, and I think that's kind of what we've seen out there. That's not to say that everything's not out there, but what we've experienced is that. And then now that we have the grandfather connection, it's like, well, maybe that's why we're so drawn, or maybe that's why we can get stuff out there. So because we have an extra connection to the place.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Mm, let me see. Somebody said replayed energy. I apologize, Victoria. Yeah, I feel like I get mostly intelligent, but like I like to go to the places that aren't really visited a lot.
Yeah.
I love East Calvary Battlefield.
Have you ever been to the Brickyard?
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that. I've told several people about that. They never knew about it, and that's a really cool place. I don't think anyone would ever know it's up there unless you knew it was up there to go to it. It's right in the middle of the neighborhood.
This was, it was recent for me. I think it was like within the last 3 years I found out about it.
Mm.
I never knew about it prior to that, and that's the other thing with Gettysburg. And I don't know if you get it too, but every time I go, no matter how many times I go, every time I go, I either learn something new, I find out something new. It's just this never ending story.
Right.
And I mean, at least for me, like I had found out that I was a daughter of the American Revolution about a year ago. And I was in Gettysburg, months later, and we were coming back from Cashtown Inn, and we took a wrong turn. And then I see this cool little cemetery off to the left-hand side, and it's just, there's nothing else around it. It's open field, and there's this cemetery with an iron fence around it. I was like, what the heck is that? I was like, stop. So we pull over. It's a daughter of the American Revolution cemetery. It's all women buried in there, and they're all daughters of the American Revolution. And I'm like, wow. I mean, you just would never think that would just be sitting in the middle of Gettysburg somewhere. I'm like, who takes care of this? Like, what is happening? It was the coolest thing,
Yeah, and this ties with the Revolutionary War of Gettysburg too. Just you got to think that the Civil War was only 80, 90 years after the Revolutionary War. So the Dobbin House, and there's like all kinds of stuff that were around back then. So the ties to history is just so big in that area, which is why I like it. Here in Texas. Yeah, we go back to 1836, the Alamo and stuff like that, but it's not near as far back as the colonies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about the Spanish explorers and stuff. Yeah, you can go back, but like true American history that you read about in the history books when you're a kid, that's all right there, with your fingertips.
Oh yeah. And I mean, even to go back, I mean, Devil's Den was an Indian reservation. It goes back even, further. So it's like, it has so much. And I think, like I said, I really think, I don't want to say that they're stuck, but I think that they're there because they want to be there. Whoever's there. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to go anywhere. I always tell people that when I die, I'm going to be haunting or living in the Eisenhower farmhouse. I was like, so if I die before anybody else, I was like, you guys can come there because that is where I am living the thereafter forever and eternity.
That first time I was there, I about a year and a half ago, that was the first time I ever been over there. We actually went up and walked around, the horse stables and all that kind of stuff.
Isn't it amazing how the thought process to just preserve all of that stuff? I mean, his cars are there, his golf cart's there, everything in the house was their furnishings. Like, people just thought the family, thank God.
Well, one of them still goes. One of the Eisenhowers still goes there. Was one of the granddaughters or something like that. She'll still cruise in every now and then.
Who wouldn't? I would want to live in that little guest house. But yeah, that's where I want to live. I said, Ike did it right. I said, I want to be, that's where I want to be. So, um, so what are your plans? Like, what do you guys got going on? Do tell, because I know you're very, very busy, and you have a lot of stuff happening. Um,
Well, yeah, we have a lot of appearances and stuff that we're doing. We have some events that we're putting on. The big one of the bigger ones is the one I kind of alluded to in Virginia. We're going over the last 72 hours of the Civil War. That's in June. That's like June 9th through 11th. And that's going to be my brother and I, Jason Hawes, um, Tim Shaw, and that's it. So Tim Shaw is going to be doing some. He's going to do like gallery reading out in the forest, like candles like hanging down off the trees, and like if there's an amphitheater out in this place.
oh, cool.
And this
That sounds
this
awesome.
place, this place that we're doing it as is a resort, and they have like horseback riding, they have a big lake and fishing and canoeing and all that kind of stuff, and you can do all that kind of stuff. We're gonna have Civil War reenactors there. Like I said, we have the big charter buses. We're gonna pull up, and on Saturday we're gonna do an excursion out to these places. We have a big dinner at one of those place that actually has some Civil War and Revolutionary War ties to it. It's haunted. You can do a little bit of investigation, but we're gonna have a good Southern dinner, and Jason Halls is gonna talk out there a little bit. Um, just a good time, and it's all Civil War.
Hey,
And
Jay. Jay saying, "Wait, who
oh
is he?"
yeah, who's that guy? He's like, wait a second, what? What's he talking about? I'm gonna be out there. Yeah, so that's gonna be a real fun one, and then
That sounds fun.
we have we have different events. Like in July, we're going to be in Rockford, Illinois. We have an event. If you go to everydayparanormal.com, we have all of our events listed. But a big one that we have coming up in January 2024 is where my brother and I are putting on a paranormal conference right here in our hometown, Church, Texas, which is just outside of San Antonio, Texas Paracon. And we're going to do a little bit different. It's going to be it's free of charge. We want people to come in, and we want all the vendors there to be successful, and people have a good time. They're not dropping $300-400 for their family just to get into the door, and that kind of stuff. We're gonna have
That's awesome.
a few people there that we haven't. We're still trying to nail down who's going to be there. But we have a VIP thing the night before. We're going to take you downtown San Antonio, and we're going to do another bus tour. But we're tour guides. We know everything. We know the city inside and out. And not only that, but we'll do a riverboat tour. We'll have an authentic Mexican dinner down on the Riverwalk. We'll take you inside some places that we have access to and tell you all the stories about it. That's all Santa. And that's not until January 2024. Those kind of things take a long time to plan and make sure they're right, but we want to make sure that it's done up right. So if anyone up north, you guys up north, if you want to kind of get away from that cold and snow, come down South Texas. That'll be in January 2024. But yeah, if you go to everydayparanormal.com, everything that we are doing and is coming up is listed there. Anything that we have going on, from anywhere we're going to be, investigations we're doing, podcasts, or anything is on everydayparanormal.com. It's our one-stop shop.
You guys are so awesome, and I enjoy that you're still kicking it, and I love it. And I hope that maybe one day, when you guys are in Gettysburg, just just do go investigate with you guys. I would love to investigate with you guys.
Yeah, well, next time we come up, I'll definitely shoot you. Yeah, I mean, you're not too far from there now, are you? I mean, because you seem to be popping over there all the time.
Yes, I'm there. Yeah. It's funny, and a lot of people probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care. I love it. But I'm only 2.5 hours away, and I want to be 0 hours away, but I'll take what I can get. But yeah, I finally my Peaches. I'm part of a group called Paranormal Peaches, and they all put their money together and got me. How the bricks are in the square? They have people's names on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they got me a brick in the square, and it says Taryn Kerper, Heart and Soul. I was like, oh my God, now Gettysburg can never get rid of me.
So where in relation to that Lincoln statue with the guy with the ugly 80s sweater?
Yeah. It's like if you're standing at Lincoln, it's like It's like probably 11, maybe 10-ish, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So yeah, you just walk. Yep, it's right there, right there. And I was just like, oh my god, I love it. So and then I got the coordinates tattooed on me too. So I love Gettysburg.
I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon, but I love it too.
Oh, come on. You know you want to imagine tattoo the coordinates. Get the coordinates. But I look forward to seeing everything that you guys are doing and putting out and everything. And I again thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. Like I said, I love talking ghosts, but I love talking Gettysburg. So much has happened there. And in fact, when we get off this call, I'll probably shit, I forgot to tell her about this, and this. But yeah, so much has happened. I encourage anyone who's never been there, if you love history, go there. But if you're into the paranormal and ghosts, go there and just experience it. Just sit there. That's all you got to do.
Do you know? And that's funny that you say that, because the first time I went, and I went grudgingly, by the way, but the first time I went, I sat. They used to have, I don't think they have it anymore, but they used to have a bench where Pickett's Charge was at, like just before you got to the Union line. There was like a bench in the field a little bit. And I sat on that bench, and for 2 hours, I didn't even realize 2 hours had gone by. But I sat there for 2 hours, and I literally thought about nothing. I don't even know what happened. It was almost like a time lapse, or something happened. Like, I thought about nothing. I didn't, because usually if you're sitting there by yourself, you're obviously having a conversation in your head, or you're like doing something, you're doing something. But I thought about absolutely nothing, and I go, wow, that was incredible.
Yeah, well, it's the scenery and everything. It does relax you. Even though it's traumatic history, it is. There's something quite relaxing about sitting out there as the sun's going down.
And like you said, so whenever I'm there and I know there's a sunset, I'm at Little Round Top. I have a certain rock I lay on, and it literally, if that's what meditation is, then I know I can do it, because the warmth from the rock, and then the sun and the warm breeze, and you're watching the sunset where it's like perfectly just setting, and you're like, am I in heaven? Like, where am I? It's like the best ever. So I agree with you with that whole thing. So if you had, I'll just one more question. If you had free reign, to do what you wanted to do investigation wise and whatever in Gettysburg, say you had 4 days, what would be how would you conduct that? Like, how would you go about it? Where would you go?
Oh shoot, that's a tough question, because I've done a lot there.
I know.
It would be a repeat.
But it would be like you're allowed to do it. Like,
this is what I would love to do is I would love to be up on Little Round Top or in Pickett's Charge in some of the major battle areas at night.
Yeah.
At night, and be able to hang out there with maybe a tent and a camera and audio recording. Just go exploring at night. I know that's completely verboten.
I know.
You can't do that, but that's the one thing. In fact, when we filmed Ghost Lab, the cool thing was on the other side of Little Round Top is private property, and we got a hold of the person that owned that. So we, at the beginning of the show, you see us walking around, and we heard cannon fire and stuff. It's at night. We're actually on the other side of Little Round Top there on private property, walking around.
That's cool.
And that was very cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. I mean, I had a thought in my head. I hate when this happens to me. I was gonna say, I actually was like, adopt a Boy Scout. The Boy Scouts get to camp out at the Pennsylvania Monument. And for a weekend, you always see them. I'm so jealous. I'm like, look at these little shits able to sleep out here overnight. They have no idea.
And actually, that's probably one place that if I could go anywhere, it's probably one place I wouldn't go, just because not that it's not important or it's not a cool place, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of out in the open. Like everything is like very, very out in the open. I kind of want to be wander around in the brush and the thickets and the
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Just to
absolutely.
check.
But it's your pass on the field at night,
Yeah,
though. Do you know
that's
what I
true.
mean? Not that I'm condoning any illegal activities.
I could go find a Boy Scout uniform and put it on, and I could be the Boy Scout. I'm a lost Boy Scout wandering around looking for my troop leader. Where's he at? Police, could you please come escort this freak off the field, please?
I was like, I'm gonna my niece, she's in Girl Scouts. I was like, dude, I'm like, talk to your scout lady leader woman. I'm like, tell her let's go to Gettysburg. The Boy Scouts get to do it. I was like, I'll be your
They can't. They
chaperone.
just camp right there though. They don't wander around,
I
right? They
know,
just camp right there that spot. Yeah,
I know, but I would be that aunt that I'd be like, come on, let's
sneaking off. Yeah,
like let's go check some stuff out. But yeah, that would be cool. All right. I have had you for an hour now, and I am like so grateful that you came on and shared your stories with us, and I'm glad you share the same passion about Gettysburg as I do.
yep.
It's
Started many years ago.
yeah,
Still there.
it's still right. It never gets old, even though it's a very old place. It never gets old.
Yep.
It's great. But Little Round Top is closed until 2024, unfortunately.
Yep. I heard that we were there right before they closed it down with Deborah last April. So
Yeah, it breaks my heart. But hopefully it is for the better. So we'll see. Can't wait for it to open back up. But the next time you guys are anywhere near Gettysburg, please let me know. I would just love to come run out and hang out with you guys for a little bit and investigate and see if we can get between all of us, as much as we love the place and, you're connected and all kinds of stuff. I'm wondering to see if we could get some like really, really good stuff.
all
Sure.
right.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
And I'll be
Appreciate it.
talking to you.
Okay.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
That was great. He's awesome. Please, everybody, please go check out Everyday Paranormal. And check out and watch, keep an eye on them guys, like and follow them wherever they're at, because they really, really, really are awesome. And I'm very honored to have him on. But with that, hopefully, you guys join me again next week. Same time, same place. Thank you all for joining us. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's questions and stuff. I did try. I apologize. But I definitely will be back next week. Thank you all.